Hello, and welcome to section 3, which is called Subtracting Whole Numbers. And just like the previous sections, we have some learning objectives. So first, we're just going to look at subtraction notation, just how do we set up a subtraction problem. Then I'm going to show you the techniques that we use to subtract whole numbers. And then finally, with the last two, we're going to look at translating word phrases into math notation and then solving and simplifying applications. All right, so first, we know that subtraction is used in a lot of different applications, such as when you go to buy a television. So a television set is on sale for $499. Its regular price is $648. What is the difference in price? Now, within this entire example here, there's one key word, and that one key word that we're going to be looking for is right here, which is difference. And difference tells us subtraction. Okay? So I'm going to start this off just like I did the previous. We're going to come back to this problem. What we're going to do is we're going to look at just a basic math or a basic subtraction problem using a number line. So here's our example right here. All right, so we want to subtract. And we're going to do 6 minus 2. Okay? So just like the previous example or the previous lecture video, which is adding whole numbers, we're going to do this using a number line. So just let me write this number line out real quick. Okay? And what this problem is telling me here is, okay, we're going to start at the number 6. So I'm going to put a little dot on number 6. Now, the minus sign tells me we're going to move to the left. Okay? And how many spots are we going to move to the left? 2 units. 6 minus 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2 units to the left. And notice here I end up at 4. Therefore, 6 minus 2 is 4. Okay? So now the question becomes, all right, well, what happens, if the numbers get a little bit larger? For example, let's do 64 minus 31. Okay, once again, in this situation, we don't want to draw the number line because it's just going to be a lot of work. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our math ability that we learned previously, and we're going to apply it to this problem here. See, that's one of the keys to mathematics, is being able to apply what you know to a problem you've never seen. So we're going to stack this up using the place value system. And then we are just going to subtract right down the columns vertically. So we have 4 minus 1, which is 3, and 6 minus 3, which is also 3. So 64 minus 31 is going to be 33. All right? Now, let's try another example here. We could do this with even larger numbers. So let's do 398 minus 100, and let's say 74. So once again, we're going to align vertically on the place values. There we go. Nice and neat and organized. And then we're just going to go straight down, starting on the right-hand side and moving to the left. 8 minus 4 is 4. 9 minus 7 is 2. And 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay? Now, this method works because we're using what we call the base 10 block method. So, for example, if I looked at a very simple problem, let's say 9 minus 5, okay, very simple problem. With this block method, I can draw 9 blocks. So there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I can draw another 5 blocks underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the subtraction means to take away. In other words, what I'm going to do is with a different color, I'm going to just scratch these out. Wherever I see 2 blocks that match on top of each other, I'm just going to scratch them out. And notice 4 blocks are left over. That's exactly what's happening in all these problems that we did previously, okay? It's exactly what's happening on all these problems previously. For example, if I do the 64 minus 31, watch what happens. We know 64 would be 6 rods, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And we have 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? I'm going to have to erase some stuff here because I'm going to need a little bit of room, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. Now I'm going to write 31 directly underneath. 1, 2, 3, and here's a 1. And then, using another color, I guess I'll go back to black, I'm going to scratch out all the ones that match. For example, here's 1 rod, scratch that out. Here's another rod, scratch that out. I'm just going to repeat this process for 3 rods total. All right, so all of them are scratched out, which is great. And then scratch out one of the blocks. Notice what you have. 3 rods, which we know is 30, and 3 blocks, which is 33. So this is like the manipulative, this is what it physically looks like. On the left-hand side, the vertical stacked method that we learned is more like the, okay, now if we can do this in our head without drawing all these blocks, here's a nice technique, a nice method on how we do this. Okay? So now we're going to look at an example where we have to do this thing called borrow, okay? So I'm going to write borrow here because this is going to be the example for borrow. And it's going to be 42 minus 19, okay? So, excuse me. Okay, so what I did real quick, I just paused the video and I drew my block method here because I want you to see what's happening here. So notice we have 42 in the top and then 19 down below. Now, if we start on the right-hand side, we have, oops, sorry. Let me draw that a little cleaner. We only have, oh, that's horrible. There we go. We only have 2 blocks. So notice here, if I were to start scratching out blocks, which I could if I wanted to, I could scratch this out and this one out and scratch 2 of them here. Notice I still got all these other blocks down below. And we know from the previous examples that this takeaway model means that you're going to get rid of everything that you can down below. What I mean by that is up here. Notice in this previous example here we go, I could cross out that block, cross out this block, and there was nothing left. All right? There's nothing left, and that's our goal. Well, here in this problem, I can't do that, okay? So what I'm going to have to do, all right, is I'm going to have to borrow. And so what I do by borrowing is I'm going to take this first rod, and I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to break it up. Now, we know 1 rod equals 10 blocks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I just get rid of this. See, now I have more blocks on the top than I do the bottom. Now I can go ahead and take things away. So let's see here. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 blocks up top and 9 blocks down below. So I'm going to scratch out 9 blocks up top. So let's scratch these 9 out. And then scratch all of them out down here because there was a total of 9. And then scratch out 1 rod up top, 1 rod down below. and we're going to count what's left over. We have 2 rods, so that's going to be 20. We have 3 blocks left over, so we have 23. So 42 minus 19 is 23. Now, let me show you how this works in our vertical column method. With the vertical column method, I noticed that the 2 is smaller than the 9. So when that happens, we know we need to borrow. So we cross out this 4 and we write a 3. And if you wanted to, you can cross out this 2 and you can write a 12. See, that's what we mean by we're borrowing 10. Now you can see where this idea came from. So now we have 12 minus 9, which is 3. And then 3 minus 1, which is 2. And that's how we get 23. So what I want to do here is I just want to do a couple more where we got to borrow. So let's subtract 832 minus 376. Okay? Now, if I wanted to, I can use the block method, but I'm not going to because, see, as soon as you get that hundreds position in there, that hundreds position, now you're talking about 10 by 10 blocks, which are 100 block or 100 squares, and I don't want to draw 8 of those. Like, it gets very cumbersome very quickly. So we're going to go with our vertical column method. So 2 minus 6, the 2 is smaller, so I'm going to have to borrow. Now, I don't really go crazy with this, okay? So I'm going to scratch out the 3. I'm going to write a 2. Scratch out the 2. I'm going to write a 12. So now I just do one step at a time. 12 minus 6 is 6. Now 2 minus 7. Well, the 2 is smaller than the 7, so I have to borrow again. So this becomes a 7, and that becomes a 12. 12 minus 7 is 5, and 7 minus 3 is 4. So we get a final result of 456. Now, math is one of those beautiful subjects that you can actually check yourself to make sure you're correct. And how we check ourselves is we're going to take the result, 456, and we're going to add 376 to it. In other words, to check, you're going to start down below, and you're just going to go in the opposite direction. And the opposite of minus is plus. So we're going to add these two numbers together. Now, if we're correct, all right, we should get 832 as a final answer. So 6 and 6 is 12. Carry the 1. 5 and 7 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. Carry the 1. And then 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 3 is 8. So we get 832, which is what we should have got. So we know our result, 456, is correct. All right? So now we're going to get into the third thing that we want to talk about. Sorry, I've been kind of bad here. Let me see here. This was number 1, which is subtraction notation. Sorry, you're going to hate me for this. And then this is number 2, which is actual subtracting whole numbers. All right. And then here's number 3, which is going to be translate word phrases into math notation. All right. So just like in the previous lecture video, with addition, subtraction has word phrases that we look for. And the key words are going to be minus, difference, decreased by, less than, and subtracted from. Okay, now I'm going to highlight the 2 most important. The less than and the subtracted from. These 2 are really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the very first one, this minus, and then I'll explain the last 2, okay? So if you look at the word minus, and then the example would be 5 minus 1, notice that in the expression, you write from left to right 5 minus 1. Same thing with difference. The difference of 9 and 4, you write 9 minus 4. And decreased by, 7 decreased by 3 is 7 minus 3. These last two that are highlighted, the less than and subtracted from, these are the two that will always be on a quiz, they'll always be on a test, and you will always see them because they're the ones that you really got to understand what's happening. 5 less than 8 means you're starting with 8 and then you're subtracting 5 away from that. Hence the phrase 5 less than 8. Same thing with subtracted from. 1 subtracted from 6, you're starting with 6 and then you're subtracting 1 from it. Okay? So what I want to do here is I'm just going to go over a couple examples on just translating word phrases into math notation, and then we're going to simplify. So the difference of 14 and 5. Okay, so the difference of 14 and 5, well, that's going to be this third row in our table above. So we know we write it exactly the way that it looks. 14 minus 5. Okay? So now we can subtract. So let's see here. 14 minus 5. Well, I got to borrow. That becomes a 0. This becomes a 14. And that's going to be a 9. I guess I didn't have to borrow. I'm being very rigid and disciplined with my technique. 14 minus 5 is 9. Okay? Now let's do another one. How about 129? Subtracted from. We're going to do 401. Okay? So here is that tricky one. We see the word subtracted from. All right? And we need, we need to be really, really careful here because subtracted from means you're going to start with the second number and then you're going to subtract 129 from that. So now what we're going to do here is we are just going to go from left to right. From right to left. So we got to borrow. Now, this 1 minus 9, we know we can't do. We need to borrow. So we look over here, and that's a 0. So what's going to happen here is this 0 becomes a 9, and this 4 becomes a 3. That's the only time where the borrowing gets a little crazy, is when you have that 0 right there. Because if you think about it, you need to take away from something, and you got to borrow from something like that. Think about the blocks. Remember, think about the blocks. So now this 1 becomes an 11. So we can go from right to left. 11 minus 9 is 2. 9 minus 2 is going to be 7. And 3 minus 1 is 2. And remember, you can always check yourself by taking your answer and going in the exact opposite direction. So we know we should get 401 as a result. Let's try. 2 plus 9 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. Plus 2 more is 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 1 more is 4. So we do get our 401, which is what we wanted, so we know we're good. Okay. And that brings us into the very last objective, which will be our applications. And remember, within the applications, and I'm going to scroll us up. Within the applications, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for these keywords, and then they're going to tell us how to write the expression. Okay? That's what we're looking for. So, if we go back to our application that we looked at the very start of class, so let me go ahead and just paste this for us. Give me 1 second here. There we go. You gotta love technology when it works. All right, that's about as good as I'm gonna get it. So a television set is on sale for $499. Its regular price is $648. What is the difference in price? Okay, so we know step 1, we need to think about what's happening. No math. Remember that. No math. Maybe I should just write no math. All right. So what's happening in this problem? Someone's buying a TV. That's what's happening. So part 2 or step 2. Let me write them in 1s and 2s. There we go. Step 2. What do we know? And what do we don't know? Well, we know the price of the TV. Regular price is $648. And we also know that it's on sale for $499. So we know we're going to get this cheap. We're going to get this TV for cheaper. What we don't know is how much cheaper, which is our difference in price. Step 3. Let's formulate our plan. So we know we have a regular price minus the sale price is our difference in price. All right, so here we actually have like a little formula that we can use. So step 4 is just going to be carried out. So we have 648 minus 499. So let's go ahead and subtract from right to left. Looks like we have to borrow. This becomes a 3. This becomes an 18. 18 minus 9 is 9. Now 3 minus 9 we can't do, so we have to borrow again. So now we have 13 minus 9, which is, it's 4. And then 5 minus 4 is 1. So step 5, does the answer make sense? The difference in price is $149. And like I said, ask yourself, does that make sense? Well, the original price was $648. The sale price is $499. So yeah, $149 makes absolute sense. This is how much money we're going to save. And I don't know about you, but I like to save money. So let's look at one more example here, one more application. Okay, so here's our next problem. So we're going to find what is the difference in temperature. Maybe I should have wrote out the word temperature. TMP. All right, there we go. So what is the difference in temperature of the average temperature in January and today's temperature? So I'm recording this video on January 11th, 2022. So we're going to have to do some investigative research here. So, all right, so here we go. All I did is I just typed in the Google average temp in Pittsburgh. So in the month of January, the average temperature, and we're going to use the high temperature, is 35 degrees. Let me zoom in here for us. There we go. So the average temperature in January high is 35 degrees. So let's go ahead. Let's write that down. So average temp, 35 degrees Fahrenheit. So now what we need to do is find the temperature for today. So today's temp. All right, remember, this is on January 11th, 2022. So let's go back here, and I can click on current weather. Oh, it is so cold outside. So today's temperature is 16 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. So when the question asks what is the difference in temperature of average in January and today's temperature, all we have to do is subtract 35 minus 16. See, step 1 was understand the situation. We're trying to find a difference in temperature. What do we know? Well, we can find out the temperatures for the average temp and today's temperature. All we have to do now is just carry out our plan and let's subtract. So 5 minus 6 looks like we got to borrow. So this is going to be a 2, and that's going to be a 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. 2 minus 1 is 1. So the difference in temperature is 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And yes, it is absolutely freezing outside today. I took my dog for a walk in the morning, and my hands were like freezing within they were ice cold within minutes. So if it's January 11th, you might want to bundle up. But that's going to be it for this video. So in the next one, we're going to talk about, I don't know even know what we're going to talk about. Let's look. So in the next video, we're going to be talking about multiplying whole numbers. So I'll see you in that video. Bye.